This is Gautam Bhattacharya of Gulf News. I welcome you to a very special conversation with a very special guest. That is, we have got WV Raman with me as a former Indian opener. He's worn many a hat in the in Indian cricket, let us say. After his, international career, he switched on to some serious coaching. He has coached the Tamil Nadu team, the Bengal state teams. He's been a coach of the Indian women's team. And what a lot of people may not know is that, during his tenure as the under 19 India coach, he had seen a certain Virat Kohli bloom under him in a couple of tours before he led the country to the under 19 World Cup. Welcome, WV.
Thank you, Gautam. How are you? All well?
Yeah, we are good. As good can we can be in these times. Well, today, our conversation will certainly veer around the two big series that is coming up. One is, of course, the World Test Championship Final, which is a one-off game, which will be held from June 18 to 22 at the Year's Bowl, to be followed by a very tight 5-test series in England. Of course, I will pick WV's brains about the WTC final before. Now, since we have got you, I'm not going to ask you about the favorite stuff, not that routine. What I'm going to ask you is, you see, there is a talk that given, vis-a-vis India versus New Zealand's preparations, New Zealand is said to be a little better prepared because they have reached there by end May, and they've already ended up playing 2 test matches in the early summer conditions in England. India, on the other hand, are trying to put in as best as they could. They're, at this point as we speak, they are playing a 4-day warm-up game, and the guys are getting into the groove. So, vis-a-vis the readiness for such a big battle, WV, what's your take on that?
See, used to have situations in the past when the teams had a lot of side games, get acclimatized to the conditions, and have some useful match time leading up to the test series. But all that is gone because of the packed future stored program of the ICC. So along those lines, teams are not fussy about having enough time prior to a test match or a test series to get used to the conditions. Nonetheless, what will happen is that it will be said that in comparison to New Zealand, the Indian boys haven't had a test series prior to the WTC final. But if you look at the way the boys have performed, the Indian boys have performed in the last 12, 15 months, you would see that they've fought all the odds, be it on the field or off the field, and they prevailed over it. And the best thing about it is that there is no one or two particular individuals that the team is really banking on. Everybody is performing and contributing to whatever extent. In fact, sometimes they go beyond people's expectations. That's a fantastic sign, because you saw the Washington Sundars and the Ashwins play, the kind of knocks that they played, and the situations that they played, and also Anuma Vihari, battling injury and then playing a gritty knock, even though numerically that may not have been much. He made sure that India was taken to safety. So that being the case, I think what is important in international cricket, as we repeatedly say, it may be cliched, it's the mindset that is important. On that front, I think the boys score very highly, the Indian boys. So that should take care of the fact that they've not had enough match practice leading up to the World WTC. So that is taken care of. In terms of the combination that they have options, to counter any conditions or to put up a formidable challenge to any opposition. So that is another thing that's going in Virat's favor. We got good spinners who are good batters. We got a fantastic fast bowling unit. And of course, the batters, the one good thing with them is if they get through the initial phase, they're going to get runs quickly, which will give ample time to the bowlers to try and force a win.
Yeah. Yes, WB, I mean, that's a very practical point there. I don't think we can look back at those days when you'd be playing 3, 4, 3-day games. I mean, that's absolutely true. Well, looking at the way India had been traveling in recent times, I mean, England, pardon me using that cliche, but England seems to be that last frontier. In Australia, we have done it now twice, 2018-19, and then again the last series. South Africa, we have kept a series drawn and come back. New Zealand, of course, was a bit of a letdown last year, but we know what the conditions in New Zealand can be. And of course, England. Now, given the fact that in England, when the test series against England is starting, that's again in the latest half of summer in August, September, don't you think it's the best chance for the Indians, given the way that they're playing their cricket?
It's the best chance not because of the way England is playing at the moment. It's the best chance because this team is totally different to the one that has stood before. This is a battle-hardened team. I repeat this because each and every member of the team seems to be, putting up his hand when it matters and perform. The other thing is that England seems to be banking on their medium paces, which I'm afraid is not going to work. I'll tell you why. Because one is that they need the conditions to be in their favor when they bowl. That cannot be a given the fact that the English weather can change every second. So no side can make do without spinners. They've struggled in the series against New Zealand without playing the spinner. That is another problem that they need to try and somehow sort out. Even in terms of their fast bowling attack, we did not see enough fizz of the pitch for both Chris Broad and Anderson. They're getting on, let's face it. I have no problems with them continuing to play. That is not my call. That is not my bid. But the fact remains that they are in the evening of their careers, which means that it's not a case of them playing the combination of Anderson, Stewart, Broad in, say, 2014 or 2012. That's a different kettle of fish it was then. But it's 2021. We've seen that, there's not much of fizz off the pitch for them. And they need the conditions to try and set the cat among the pigeons. If the conditions are not what they expect them to be, then I think the Indian batters are going to have a good time.
Well, if we take up the WTC final to start with, yes, I mean, you got a very valid point there. I mean, what kind of role do you see? I'm just starting from a little backward. What kind of a role do you see Ravi Ashwin and probably Jadeja playing on the against ball turf? I mean, which often tends to hit the spinners.
See, the thing is that they can create a lot of confusion in the minds of the batters. Let's take Ravi Ashwin for the time being. There are a lot of left-handers in the New Zealand side, which means that even if he gets one or two deliveries to deviate across the bat for those left-handers, then they're really, getting to think there. Hello, the ball is spinning away from the bat. Now, what if some turn, some don't turn, and some start coming into us, coming in with the arm? Which is which? They need to first pick those one out. If you saw the series against England, we saw a lot of left-handers getting out to Ravi Ashwin, not being able to pick the ball that, keeps coming in after pitching rather than, the ball deviating across the face of the bat. Now, that is something that they need to think about. And if you're talking about Jadeja, he can be as nagging as a woodpecker. Give him the ball and say, okay, boss, get on with it. And he would land it wherever he wants it to repeatedly like a machine. Now, what more do you need? And he can surprise the batsman with a little bit of turn and bounce now and then. See, if the ball keeps deviating consistently every delivery, then the batsman can plan and do something about it. But if it's a case of the ball deviating now and then, that is going to be really a problem for the batsman to handle. Especially if you are not accustomed to having the benefit of playing against quality spinners in your first-class cricket, or when you're not been recently playing first-class spinners in international cricket. When I say first-class spinners, I'm talking in terms of quality. If you're not played a good spin attack in international cricket, just prior to this series, then you're going to be in trouble.
Right, right. So, but that, like if we are taking both Ashwin and Jadeja into equation, what kind of, and see, it's a hypothetical question, but which we all cricket fans love to discuss. What kind of a, combination you're looking at? Because you've got a problem of plenty when you're talking about the pacers. what we don't possibly have is a seeming all-rounder, I mean, which would have given you that flexibility. Maybe you can try Shardul Thakur under the circumstances, but what would you have done, WV?
See, Gautam, is surprising, that, you say that we don't have the flexibility in terms of all-rounders. What more do you need? If you play Jadeja, Ashwin, and Rishabh Pant, you got fabulous flexibility because they're all, seasoned all-rounders in a way. Because all three of them have got runs in international cricket. They're capable of playing under pressure, and they are, multi-dimensional, even in the test version. Uh, that way, I think both Ravi and Virat have a lot of options. If you're looking at the fact that it's going to be just one test, you want to be the ultimate winner. They can still go for a 3-2 combination, 3 paces and 2 spinners, which means that the paces can be used whenever the conditions are ideal. Otherwise, the spinners can, go through a few overs. The other thing that will benefit India is when they play 2 spinners is that it will enable the ball to get scuffed a little bit quicker, which means that will facilitate reverse swing for the medium paces too. Right. So that being the case, 5 bowlers to bowl opposition out twice, and you got a good balance of 2 spinners and 3 seamers, and you're having in all 5 bowlers to bowl the team out, as I said earlier. And out of those 5 bowlers, 2 spinners can bat extraordinarily well. You can also have Shami who can hang in there a bit. If they play Ishan Sharma, he can also hang in there a bit. Let's face it, Gautam, you're not going to have all the 11 who are capable of getting 100 in a test level. You need some specialist bowlers to get to wickets.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, WB, I was reading one of your interviews in recent times where you made an interesting take about Cheteshwar Pujara. It was about Pujara, but at the same time, what would be the ideal approach in England as to where the conditions keep changing? So it should be, playing your strokes once in a while too. So does this hold for, all the 5 in the top order? I mean, of course, Rishabh, we all know how he bats. Should it good hold for all the 5 top batters that, when we say apply yourself, I mean, how do you strike that balance in England? You give the first 2 hours to the bowlers or to the conditions, and then how should the approach change?
See, as it is, our batters, except Pujara, who's just a test specialist. When I say just a test specialist, he's only playing test cricket, not in any other sort of connotation. He obviously is one who likes to grind the attack. Otherwise, you have all the batters who like to get on with it, get runs quickly. Now, one important thing is that they should not try and look at hanging in there and grinding the attack away. Right. Because in England, with the usual weather patterns being what they are, sunny one moment, cloudy next, ball swinging and seaming, and suddenly it's coming straight at you, where you pick a lot of runs quickly enough. So that being the expected conditions, we don't know how it will turn out because there's no saying things about the weather for certain. What I would look at these batsmen doing is to not lose out on any scoring opportunities. A classic example was the Ross Taylor innings yesterday. Yeah. He was playing shots. There were times when people felt it was a 50-50 chance he might get out. But the point was that it was a calculated onslaught. You need to try and get your runs. The reason why I had said in one of those interviews that Pujara should do it is that because the opposition will not expect him to play more shots than he normally does. Right. That will really set them thinking. You're upsetting the thinking and the planning that they have done, because these days everybody gets to see what the opposition players are capable of doing. They analyze, they come out with a plan, but you try and sort of do something which they have not catered to, which they have not thought about, then you really sort of set the cat among the pigeons. So they know Pujara is playing shots, what do we do now? So once you put the bowlers on the back foot with something that they're not really catered for, then it's going to be difficult for the opposition team to sort of rearrange their plans quickly enough. Now, even in a matter of 1 hour, if Pujara surprises them by playing a lot more shots than he normally does. Now, if you're talking about, let's say, 7, 8 boundaries, 30, 40, quicker runs, I won't say quicker runs, will make a lot of difference in a session.
Just before finishing, I mean, what do you make of this New Zealand team? Because, from these 2 test matches that have been going on, despite there being a certain sameness in their bowling attack, unlike India, they seem to have thought out their approach. I mean, they seem to have prepared well for this big occasion. So, what would be your take about their chances for the big game?
No, they definitely stand a good chance. They've been doing extraordinarily well, in all the formats. The stark difference between India and New Zealand is that one has a lot of options, one nation. The other option has very limited. That again, they've used it to their advantage by focusing on the options available and ensuring that they use the talent to their optimum levels. So it's an interesting study of the cricketing cultures, as well as the options available, as well as the systems that prevail in these countries. It's a great study, it will be, and it is contrasting in many ways. Yet, that is sport. They both are going to vie for the top prize in a couple of days' time. That's interesting, isn't it, by itself?
Absolutely, absolutely. Looking forward to it. That should be all. Thank you, WV, for your time. Thanks again. We'll be in touch.
Thanks a lot, Gautam.